This is my Range Rover L405, and this is the short block, and this is the rest of the engine.
After discovering an engine knocking issue on my broken vandalized Range Rover L405, which I bought from the auction, I removed the oil filter and noticed that it had metal particles in it. This is when I realized that the only way to get to the root of the problem was by taking the engine out. I used the workshop manual and I managed to remove the engine. And I discovered that the knocking was coming from a failed bearing caused by the car potentially being misfueled. I continued on fully disassembling the engine to find out how far the damage has gone, and I realized that the crankshaft cannot be machined.
And today I'm going to clean and assemble the full short block with new crankshaft, cleaned and ready to go main caps, clean and ready to go pistons, and a box full of goodies. New con rods, new piston rings, new everything. And just to confirm, new bearing for the main and for the con rods. But firstly, a new set of clothes because I'm about to get very dirty and messy cleaning the engine block. I have already took the engine out and jet wash it with water, and I cleaned some of the holes here, and I put some brake cleaner. I'm going to be using WD-40 and a scour pad. I'm just going to clean the stuff from here basically, and just on the edge from the top before we hone the 6 cylinders. We're gonna hone them. This is very gentle and it doesn't actually scratch the surface. Just so you know, it's not like sanding, it's just removing the tough residue from the gasket previously, and if there's any carbon buildup. I have been using this scour pad and the results are okay, but they're not perfect. It's not how I want it. I'm going to eventually clean every hole over here, and I'm gonna blow air inside, and I'm gonna make sure everything is spot on. Even though online says don't do it, I'm going to be using wet and dry sandpaper. This is 400, and then I'm gonna move to 800, and then I'm gonna move to 1200. I'm going to use a block like this. This is a sponge, by the way, if you didn't know. So I'm gonna put it here, and I do it this way. That way it's flat and I am not putting pressure in one spot more than the other. And I'm just gonna go this way, of course with WD-40. No pressure, just let the paper do the work, and then I will move to higher grit so I can make it smooth and nice and clean. Now online does say don't use sandpaper unless you're willing to properly wash the engine, which I will be doing, just so you know. This is still the first step ever. We still got a lot of work to do. So let's just carry on. Now that we have detailed the engine, proper cleaned it and painted it, I am very, very impressed with the job. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Right?
A great color.
By the way, this is cosmetic. It doesn't help anything whatsoever. But what's really important is we need to make sure that this is absolutely straight. And what I did is I actually borrowed this tool. This is a straight edge, and you can make sure that it is 100% straight, okay? Some people put light behind it, make sure the light cannot pass. But what I did is I have a tool called feeler gauge. Basically, they come like teeny tiny blades. The thickness of the blade decides on the thickness of what you're trying to achieve. The smallest one we have here is 0.04 millimeter. And why am I telling you this? Because I am not sure what is the allowance that we can have, but this is the smallest one I have. Look how small it is.
Very, very small.
It's thinner than a paper. And I just made sure that it doesn't pass. So I measured it this way and this way and then this way and then this way. And I did same thing here. And then I did for here and I did for here. And it's all good. So far, we have a very healthy engine. Previous comments were in the previous video, just make sure these are okay, and I can assure you they are okay. These are where the main cap sits for the main bearings, because I believe one of the viewers were not too sure if the bearings were spinning in the main cap, but no, the bearings were not spinning. I can confirm that. And Alex, if you just come closer please with the camera, can you see here it looks like lines going that way, and that is from the bore, because these engines get machined, and there's something like a tube that goes in to cut or to make the block basically. And I can still see the machining line here. I can still see them even after I sanded. I can still see the machining line here. Can you see like they go like that way? And then here is the same thing, and then here even after sanding I can still see them. So what I'm trying to say is I was never harsh on this, never harsh. And something new I bought this filter to make sure when I am using the air gun, no particles like dirt or even water, not even steam, is coming out of the gun. It's completely just 100% pure air. See, there's no water. No water, nothing. It's absolutely clean. So this is how I managed to clean the engine. Quickly, I'm going to explain what honing does, just for in case some of the viewers are not too sure. Honing does not actually take material off. Well, it does, but it doesn't. So it doesn't make the cylinder wider, but what it does, it creates microscopic scratches all over the cylinder walls, and you want to have them going in a spiral, and that would help the oil catching on these scratches and going up. Because if it was too smooth, the oil will not be able to catch on them, and instead it'll just slips down. So you want something to grab on it. When you look at it after you complete the job, you should see spirals, and sometimes you'll see like a look like an X, because what you're doing is just going up and down slowly and on a slow speed, and you just scratching it going up. This is what you want to see really eventually. So not only I have been using the air, I have been using these things here. The end of them have a bit like a cotton bud, and I would make sure all the holes are cleaned. What I'm trying to achieve is the best way to describe it as disinfecting.
Yes.
Disinfected?
Disinfecting, yeah.
Disinfecting, yeah. Everything needs to be super clean. There's no dirt whatsoever. Really, I cannot emphasize how it needs to be super clean and accurate it is. This is super, super, super important. If I don't do it right now, I will regret not doing it right when I'm trying to turn the car on and the car doesn't turn on. So if you are actually watching this video because you want to do the job, or you're trying to be inspired or anything like this, I would highly recommend that you make sure, double make sure, triple make sure that this job what I'm doing now, the cleaning, is the best you can get it done. Absolutely. When you think you're done, do it again. Do it again. Yeah. You can never be too clean. You can just never be too clean. That's the situation. So now is the exciting bit. Everything before that, when I was preparing the engine block, that's so boring. It's satisfying to see it getting clean and so on, and painting and this super nice, but it's boring. It's really, really boring. For all the viewers that do not know, the passenger cylinder head and the driver cylinder head been sent to a machinist because I don't want to mess around with them. What's gonna happen is they're gonna clean it, and then they're gonna make sure it's absolutely straight and spot on. Any issues, they're gonna try to skim it and make sure there's no problem with it. Basically, it's gonna come out from the machine shop, and I'm gonna be able to just put it on the engine, bolt it on, and move on. I remember in the workshop manual, Alex, if you remember, workshop manual says that you have to get them sorted. If I get them wrong, it's a big deal. First thing is oil jets, right, Alex?
Yes.
Oil jets. So we start from the oil jets, which is the first box. Let's see now if our organization skills is gonna come handy, or all what we did was just waste of time labeling stuff. Let's see. Here you go. These are, what's this? The main caps outside bolts, okay?
Okay.
And then these are, what do we call them? Butterflies?
Oil jets. Yeah, butterflies.
Butterflies.
They look like butterflies.
Oil jets. And each one of them has its own screw.
Perfect.
And they're numbered.
They are numbered. I can see number 2.
And this is number 1, number 2, number 3. I think we should clean them. Let's clean them. Yeah. These get torqued to 10 Newton meter. Okay, yeah, that's 10, and that is 10 as well. So what we haven't talked about so far is the crankshaft. We have managed to source a brand new, genuine crankshaft, not an aftermarket one. It's all ready to go. So it's balanced, it's cleaned, it's been checked over and over again, and I made sure that it's all completed. Just like everything else, what I need to do is just make sure that it's clean. Again, I will clean it here and blow air inside to make sure all the holes are good to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna use the new bearings on the mains and on the conrods. So it's gonna be all brand new. And I'm going to use the gauge to measure the tolerance and the allowance between the bearing and the journal, because we have to have a correct spacing. I found something more effective than microfiber. It's actually less abrasive than the microfiber. 2,500 wet and dry sandpaper is perfect to make it 100% mirror polish. It's so good. I know it's absolutely unnecessary, but I enjoy when it's absolutely shiny like that. It just makes me feel like I'm doing a good job.
It looks very shiny.
Right?
Yeah.
A few passes here and there, that's it. My skin is more rough than this paper. It is so not abrasive. So this is something I'm not going to show on the camera because it's super boring and there's a lot of detailed number. But basically what we have to do is I'm going to put these main caps on the engine and I'm gonna measure the bore here, but they should be okay because since nothing changed here or the engine, is going to be exactly as manufacturer recommendation. And I'm going to use this measure device. We've talked about it in the previous video. If you haven't, make sure to watch the previous video. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the bearings inside and then put the main caps back and then measure and then take the diameter of the new crankshaft and see the difference. It's very difficult for me to explain to you on the camera how it works and it gets really complicated, but I need to make sure the clearance between the bearings and the crankshaft is absolutely perfect and spot on between the journals so the oil can circulate perfectly. I don't expect anything but perfect because new genuine crankshaft, this is nothing wrong with it. The engine, there's nothing wrong with it, nothing changed. We have new standard bearings. I'm not reusing anything. Everything is brand new here. Therefore, I should not have any issue. But this is just to double check. Now, some people use, I think it's called plastic gauge, where they put like a gauge here and it will tell them the differences. This is okay for DIYers, but obviously manufacturers don't use that, but it's okay for DIY. So if you're using it, it's okay. Especially if you're reusing the bearings, reusing some of the old parts. In our case, no, everything going in is new. The engine block is still the same. This is still the same. Otherwise, everything is going in brand new, genuine. So we shouldn't have any issue with that. Yes, it's all good. Everything is okay. We'll put everything back how it should be. In the testing, I didn't use any oil. I didn't use anything. It was just dry fit and it's all good. Next, really, what we have to do is assemble things back. Like I said, I'm not going to show you how I did the measurements because it's extremely boring, but I cannot get over how shiny this is. Have a look.
Incredibly shiny.
I made it super shiny, super nice. Better than using a microfiber. 2500 grit is super, super, super soft. It's actually designed to go on car paint, by the way. It will not scratch your car paint, let alone metal. Change of gloves, and from now on, it's gonna be a surgery. This is how clean it will be. It'll be like doing a heart surgery. Let's continue. I'm just gonna prepare all the bearings. By all means, if you're watching this video to learn about how I do it, feel free to do so, but make sure to maybe read a book or something, because that's what I've been doing, reading books and going online to search, because I'm not an expert whatsoever, and I never claim to be. But you know what? We're gonna work, and our job is gonna be as good as an expert. So, you see these holes here?
Yes.
This is where the oil comes out, and they sit as designed. We have to make sure these holes are exactly centered, okay? It's very important. If they do not provide enough oil, we will have the same knocking engine again, and it's called oil starvation. Oil starvation, yes. So we have to make sure it's absolutely spot on. There's no messing around here. We are going to use this product here. It's called Ultra Slick. It's an engine assembly lube. Some people use a thick oil, but I would rather use this because this is not only that it's oily, it's very sticky, it's very gooey. And the whole point of this is when you first assemble the engine, some parts do not have oil. So you are kind of pre-oil before the oil reach where it needs to reach. Also, it stops from the bearings from spinning when they shouldn't be spinning, hence the stickiness. Bring the camera and I'll show you how it's done. Ready?
Yeah. Like a syrup.
Yeah.
Oh, on the line in the middle.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. See how gooey it is? It's like a syrup.
Yeah. One would think it's a strawberry syrup for ice cream.
It does look like a strawberry syrup, isn't it? It's okay if I dropped here and there. Don't worry about it. I'm not a professional, and it's the first time for me ever to do this. So just give me a chance, you know? Here you go. Now we put the crankshaft. You ready for this, Alex?
Ready.
Even when we were doing the testing, we've never put the crankshaft. This is the first time, for real. This is like really first time. Shiny, brand new crankshaft. If measurements all good, this should go smoothly. If I remember correctly, where did I see it? Someone said you should not move it now. You have to put the caps before you move the crankshaft. We bought new bolts for the main caps because we didn't want to reuse the old bolts. They need to be torqued a specific ratio at specific stages. I think I need to put oil here. If you remember in the previous videos, we did say from here on, we're going to sell on our own and we're not going to be using the workshop manual. And this is one of the things where we have to do it our own. So the specification, I got them from different forums and different sources of online. It was a bit difficult to get them, by the way, but I managed to get them and I wrote them down. But I think if I do it here in this video, the video will become very long because there's like so many stages to get it sorted. So what we're going to do, if you didn't know yet, we have a second channel, okay? And we've already posted a video there. What we're going to do for the people who are actually interested in doing this engine, we are going to create a specific video showing these specific values or these torques and the stages. For the rest of you, I'm just going to quickly torque them and then we can move on into the next stage. So by the way, the channel is called Second Life as Usual. Not everyone is interested on the torque values, that's the thing. I drew a line on each bolt and that will give me an indication on when I turn the bolt, because I need to turn it to a 45-degree angle. When I turn it, it'll be easy to know where I am. Of course, this one will do for me, but I can visually inspect it and make sure that this is matching down. We have completed cap number 1, 2, 3. Before we do cap number 4, we have to shift the crankshaft all the way to the front. Now, I've seen on a forum, someone had a picture online, and what he did is put a piece of wood here, I hope I don't damage it, and then use a crowbar and push it to the front. I don't know if that's going to work or not. The whole point of this is because remember we had shims here and we just want to make sure that it's tight. I think that is the point of it. So let's see. Okay. Let's torque the last 4 bolts. We start from the inners and then we'll go on the outers. 0.
Yep.
We need to put 4 bolts on the sides,
yes,
and 4 bolts on these sides.
Yes.
We're gonna have to torque them, and this should be quick and easy, hopefully.
We think so.
Hopefully. Now I'm putting lines here so I know when I torque at 45 degrees what is the maximum torque, so I can do it that way. I think it's easier. I want to test something.
Okay.
Will it turn?
I don't know.
Should we try?
Oh, let's try, yeah.
It turns.
It turns.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Oh, look at the strawberry jam.
Woo. I think what I need to do is I want to see what kind of energy do I need to turn it. To do so, we need to get the bolt and test how much torque does it take to rotate the engine. Is it 1 Newton meter, 2 Newton meter, 3 Newton meter? How much energy does it take to turn it? But I'll tell you what, it's not much. It's not much. Like my hands are slippery and it's turning. So let me just find the bolt and then we can go from there. Okay, so I put the bolt, yeah?
Yeah.
I have not tested it yet, but this is, oh my God, I'm so stressed. I don't have enough torque to test the measurement. The minimum one I have, which is the smallest one I have here. Yeah. Is 5 Newton meter, which is a lot, okay?
Yeah.
I have an idea. Yeah. If I put it with the weight of it, do you think it will turn the engine?
Let's try.
Let's see.
What, on its own?
Yeah, no, it won't with it.
That's amazing.
The engine is so smooth. Check this out.
It's actually moving.
It's moving just from the weight of this. Let's try again.
Try again.
Check this out. Now we have to do a lot more measurements on the pistons, and again, I will not be showing you. I'm going to take the measurements of, not these rods, we're going to replace them, I'll show you in a bit. But I will take the measurements on the outside, I will take the measurements of the bearings, I will take the measurements of the journals, and I'll make sure the gap between this bearing and the journal, it is perfectly, I think it's to do 0.05 or 6, something like this. If I tell you honestly, I will bore you and I will confuse you. I'm not the right person to tell you how to do it. Okay guys, so last night I was so tired and so exhausted, I forgot to check the inflow. Inflow determines how further the crankshaft moves this way, how much further back and forward it moves. We've checked it and it's all good. I'm not gonna bore you with the numbers and how I check it and stuff like that. Honestly, this is so boring. I will bore myself explaining to you about it, and I'm sure really you will be extremely bored listening to me blobbing about 0.0121 and 0.043. Just it's so boring. Regardless, I want to talk to you about something else actually. Let's talk about the torque spec and where I got the torque spec, because I want you to know, because I went back home and I'm just thinking about what I said and what we filmed and how I presented the torques and stuff like that. I will definitely have it on a second channel, but this is how I do my research. Mostly I read books and I read torque specifications and I read on the forums and so on. So one of the things that we have to be careful about, just so you know what I'm doing, okay, because if you were to watch a video, I think you should know this, because I don't want you just to have the wrong information. There are two schools of thoughts. Is it called school of thought?
Schools of thought.
Schools of thought. There's two schools of thought. Okay. Now this block used to be used in the Discoveries. Okay. 2.7. It looks similar, but it's not the same. Okay. It's a complete different engine. It does look similar. So if you were to see it, you think, oh, that's the 2.7. No, it's different. 2.7 and a 3 liter slightly. There's a minute difference. Okay. In the measurements that we're doing, that makes a lot of difference, because we're taking like really to the mil, or actually less than a mil, to thou. It makes a huge difference. So what I have here, this is the 2.7. These are the sequence and the stages on how to torque these screws, okay, for the 2.7. If you were to follow this on this, you may be okay, but it's not the accurate one, okay? So just remember, because some people on the internet, some YouTubers, have seen them torquing this for the 2.7 is slightly different. The reason why there are multiple school of thoughts is because Land Rover themselves do not release figures on how to do this engine. If you to go to any database, any professional database, or any database in the whole world, okay, there isn't a single figure in the whole world on Land Rover showing you these figures, okay? And I'm not saying someone wrote it down, I mean real figures from real companies, from real professional companies that release figures to show you how to do this by Land Rover. So this 2.7, where did I get it from? Guess what? I had to go to the Citroen workshop manual, because Citroën uses these engines in their cars.
Yes.
However, there is the 2.7. Okay, remember it's a 2.7, and this is what people have been using to do their engines. What I have been using, however, I have not been using that. What I have been using and what I have been following is, you ready for this?
Drum roll, please.
I have been using the Ford F-150 3-liter V6 Power Stroke, and that is the sequence I have been using. This is by Ford, okay? I have been using Ford specification, not Citroën specification, the 2.7. Oh my god, I think I'm just boring myself talking about this, and you guys are so bored of this already. But this is what I'm trying to tell you. When people work online, it just gets me upset and all worked up when people do things wrong, when they think, yeah, just do it, it doesn't matter. There's a sequence that you have to do, and there's a stages you have to do. Hence, this is why I'm not doing it in this video, and I'm gonna dedicate a special video on second channel on exactly how to do it. This is all I had to say, and I'm sorry I bored you. Let's move on to the next stage, since we are happy about this. And just to confirm from last night, Alex, you ready?
Yeah, ready.
So,
my favorite part.
This is, look at this, look at this, look at this. I'm not putting any tension, and it's just moving on its own. It just moving on its own. No tension, no tension. Even if I stop it, look, I'm gonna stop it, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let it go.
On its own.
On its own. I'm gonna stop it again.
Yeah.
Let it go slowly. Look, 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 look.
Still.
Look. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is without pistons. So guess what's the next step? These are the old pistons and rods. So what we need to do is we need to replace, this is the rod or the piston in question. This is number 2. I am not gonna go bother myself and trying to measure if it's still, this is okay, if the rod is bent, if it's not bent. It's just too much hassle. So what I'm going to do is, first of all the bearings will be replaced, okay, regardless. I know some people like to reuse them. I just don't see the point of them. I've got a new crankshaft, I've got new bearings, main caps, I've got everything new. So I'm gonna replace new bearings, and I'm going to replace the connecting rod. Now, if I'm replacing one connecting rod, it doesn't make sense for me to replace one and keep the rest. They may have an issue. And again, I'm not gonna go through, get the measure and the gauge and make sure it's all good. Why? Why cheap out? I want to do this engine once and for all. I want to build it to its maximum capacity. I want to be able to enjoy this car. Even if I decide to sell it, I want the next person to never have an issue. As I said from beginning of the videos, by the time I finish, the only thing this car requires is replacing oil and filters. That's it. I don't want anyone to mess around with the engine again. So, 1 in new connecting rod, bearings, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 connecting rods. I told you, I will always go full on and maximum. I do not take shortcuts. Everything will be replaced. And you know what? These rings, they're old and I don't know the condition of them. And I'm not gonna get a gauge to measure whether they're good or not. So they're gonna get replaced with new piston rings. And you know what? If I'm replacing this, I mean, come on, you're almost replacing everything. So why not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Yes. All of them will get new piston rings, all of them will get new bearings, all of them will get new connecting rods, and all of them will get new bolts. Literally, quite literally, the only thing I'm using from all of this is the head. However, I'm just not gonna leave it to there, am I? What I did, I've already done so. I put in ultrasonic cleaner with a degreaser and water and heat them up, and I clean them and detail them, and right now, that's how they look like. Let me show you this one, for example. That's how they look like.
Really nice.
Really nice.
Yeah.
And I've checked the sides. You can see they're not that scratched. And remember, this is number 2. You can still see the mark. If you still see the black here, that means the piston is good. This is like a wear indication on the piston, and they're all in like an okay condition. Let's reassemble the full lot, and then we can put it back in the engine. For the past 15 minutes, I have been trying to put the piston rings inside the piston, but it's not working. Look, it's too thick to go in. And it's not my fault. I thought it was my fault. It's not my fault. It's the people who sent me the piston rings. It's gonna take a lot of time to receive the new parts, and I cannot complete it in this video. So I thank you very much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe for future videos, and guys, I'll see you on the next one, because we've got a lot of things going on. Some news on the cylinder heads. They're on the way, but we've got news on about that, and there will be a new video on Second Life as usual.